8. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming to this special session of the Board of Education. We previously were in an academic and student services work session, and we added on the superintendent search discussion to this meeting, and that's where we're going into now at the 5:30 mark. What I plan on doing in this session is we have public comment signed up. We have people signed up for public comment, and we're going to go through those first. I'm going to reserve the last 10 minutes of this hour. It's going to be an hour long for us to discuss our next steps from a board perspective, you know, as far as what we're thinking about the search firm or otherwise, okay? That meets with everyone's approval. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the public comments. We have 8 signed up so far. Now, after these 8, I'm going to, I will ask if there's anyone else, you know, because someone might have come after we started. So we have about 50 minutes to go through here. So I'm going to, if you are representing a group, if you're the spokesman for a group that is reading a letter or a statement from the group as it relates to the superintendent search, would do. Okay. Okay. So if you have a statement to submit, you know, if it's printed out, we'd be happy to receive that. But you can read it on the at the podium, and we will do 3 minutes here, and in the case that more people come in. So the first person to come speak is Paige McCullough.
Good afternoon, board members and Dr. Lum. I am Paige McCullough, and I am speaking on behalf of the PA education team about the superintendent search. We hope the search will be open to both internal and external candidates. We want someone who can help us continue building on a cohesive, community-driven vision for improving achievement for all our students, for hiring and retaining the best teachers, and for a transparent budget. We want the many communities of Durham to be provided with meaningful opportunities to give their thoughts on what they hope to see in a superintendent, what we hope the person will be able to accomplish, and how that person will tackle our challenges. I am a veteran of several searches, and I think that having open meetings in various venues is important, but it may not be sufficient to glean a variety of views, especially from low-income families of color and ESL families, which are the majority of our school families. I think that asking for assistance from community groups for these conversations might help. I don't have to tell any of you that for the past 20 years, public education has been under relentless attack from policymakers and their corporate cronies who wish to shift the billions we invest in our children to their personal portfolios. We all must stave off these attacks while acknowledging that we have not served every child as well as we can. It is your task to find the right person to lead this effort. I believe this requires that the 7 of you bring your unique talents and passions together to select and then support a strong, experienced, thoughtful, collaborative person. If this process is well done, I believe you will emerge from it a more skilled board that leads a district where all children can thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Our next speaker is Minister Paul Scott.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm here tonight to represent STIC, the Society to Increase Cultural Knowledge, and I'm going to cut right to the chase. I'm here tonight to address the most pressing issue facing not only this community, but our nation, and that is that stubborn achievement gap. It seems to me that the new superintendent will have two challenges before him or her: to make the school system more attractive to those mostly white students who have fled the public school system to the proverbial greener pastures of the charter schools, or the African American students who were left behind. I do not think that a push towards the gentrification of the educational system is the answer, but the new superintendent must be someone with heart and courage to close that ever-increasing achievement gap. We need better education, not gentrification. We have had several superintendents over the past several years, and none have been successful in closing the achievement gap. With that being said, I would like to put this forward to the community, especially the African American community. We need an independent community search committee. We have to take responsibility as a community to put forth the questions to those who are going to lead our children. We have to take the responsibility as a community to get on Facebook and the internet and social media and send emails out and tweets out to someone who can close this achievement gap. I think that we have the ability to do it. I think we have the intelligence to do it. My question for all of us tonight: do we have the courage to do it? Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Paula Januzzi. Did I say that right? Oh, okay.
Good. Yeah, my name is Paula Januzzi Godfrey, and I am here to speak on behalf of myself. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the proud parent of 2 DPS graduates. I've worked for DPS for a total of 10 years over the past 15 years. I have served as a special education teacher, a 4th and 5th grade teacher, an instructional facilitator, and I am currently one of your full release mentors. I love teaching, I love teachers, but I especially love beginning teachers. I have always, and I always have. I now have the honor of mentoring over 50 beginning teachers in 4 elementary schools. They are the future of our schools. If we don't believe in them, encourage them, and teach them, we will lose them, which leads me to what DPS needs in our future superintendent, in my opinion. We need a superintendent who believes in teachers. While that may seem obvious, it's not always the case. I've lived through many superintendents during my career, so I just felt like I needed to say that out loud. We need a superintendent who not only believes in teachers, but has been a teacher. Someone who has walked a mile in our shoes. Someone who understands the importance of developing leaders in our schools and expects teachers to be leaders, not followers. We need a superintendent who is as well-rounded as a person as they are educated. We need someone who knows how to manage people, put together a strong, responsive staff who will model and set high expectations for customer service, professionalism, and the basic golden rule of not treating others as you would not want to be treated. They would let DPS employees know that these expectations are non-negotiable, from central office to school administrators to instructional assistants to cafeteria workers to teachers to after-school program staff. We need someone who understands the diversity of Durham and all that comes with it. They need to be a listener and a keen observer. We need someone who understands how critical the emotional and social development of a child is, and they need to make sure that every school environment in DPS is a safe place emotionally for teachers as well as students. If students and teachers don't feel safe emotionally, you will never see test scores rise. We need someone who has courage enough to fight for equity in all of our schools for students and teachers. They need to be more than an impressive resume on paper. They need to be able to communicate and know how to surround themselves with capable, innovative, well-informed staff who can be trusted and have their finger on the pulse. And lastly, we need a superintendent who will practice what they preach. They need to be a role model for every employee and student in the district. They should be able to lead and manage our school district in the same way a master teacher manages their classroom. Someone who values and models equity, has high expectations for himself and others, is dedicated to serving our children and teachers, models compassion, is consistent and trustworthy inside and outside of school. Thank you.
Thank you. And by the way, if you all are comfortable with providing your statements, I would love to, the printed copy of your statements when you speak. I would love to have them to review, and we can have them scanned, or scanned to send to the board, just for review also, and that's everyone. Okay. Next speaker is Jennifer Bartnick. Did I say that right?
You did.
All right.
You did a good job. My name is Jennifer Bartnick, and I currently have a senior at Riverside High School. I am speaking today on behalf of the superintendent search for 2 reasons. First, we have great interest in pushing all of our students to their full potential. Of course, there is a need to make sure all of our students are at least on par with grade level, and we need to nurture reading proficiency and English language skills for our immigrant population. But there is an equal need to push those students who are exceeding and excelling at their grade level. There needs to be flexible learning environments to meet these needs. There needs to be specialized programs. We, as a district, were quite progressive when we adopted the Project Lead the Way program, one of the first in the nation in a high school, and developed an engineering program at Riverside High School. We need to be this progressive in meeting the needs of the students now and in the future. Secondly, I would like to see the new superintendent have a strong interest in addressing true building needs in the district. This is twofold. First, addressing maintenance issues in existing buildings where they exist. There are a lot of them. Secondly, we need to look at building new schools where population growth demands, such as a new elementary and middle school in South Durham. We must continue to meet our building needs to continue to attract young families moving into this area so that they will come to Durham, to continue to grow and progress this great city that we love. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Brian Calloway.
All right. Sorry. Good evening, board. I work in maintenance, actually, here at Durham Public Schools. I second some of those statements too on state of some of our facilities, but I am not representing anyone directly this evening, and I don't even have anything prepared for you to hand on. So it's just off the cuff because this is meaningful to me as well. But all in all, I hope that the board finds a reformer as our next superintendent. And as a previous speaker had mentioned, the closing the achievement gap, or allowing kids to achieve and succeed, is to me the most important thing. That's our charter as a school district, is to educate students. And to me, that is something that we, as the previous speaker had mentioned on that topic, we have not yet achieved as a district, and I believe it's time for reform to make that happen. I guess I've been branded a bit as a firebrand in the district, so maybe I attract more attention and folks are more comfortable mentioning things to me. But I have been hearing a lot of that from fellow employees. So I would also like to ask you to include a survey of all employees, not just teachers, not just those that work in schools, but some on the classified side as well. So they hear our input as well on some of it might be a reflection of our own working conditions and things like that. We don't have a working conditions survey on the classified side. Reform is the number one topic and interest I have. I frankly, I see value in having someone that has had teaching experience, obviously, but I frankly couldn't care less if they had teaching experience, if they can close that achievement gap, if they can perform, if they can reform this and perform in that aspect, that'd be great. I'd love to see a rising star that we pluck from somewhere like Atlanta or Miami, who wants to make a name for themselves and bump up to be a superintendent at a larger district. You know, reach out to LA if we need to, whatever. I don't know. I'd love to see us nab somebody who's in the on their way looking for a stepping stone. I'm happy for Durham to be that stepping stone if it means it helps our kids in our community. So if they're a teacher or have teaching experience, great. If they're not and have a proven track record of results, that's what I'm most interested in. But please do take consider gathering or having your search gather the input through survey of all employees, just to get, because I'm personally curious too. I hear a lot of reformers, and we talk about it now since in the last month, since it's on everybody's mind. Obviously, it's a chance for the district to launch into pretty new direction here. So thanks.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Michelle Burton.
Hi. Good evening. My name is Michelle Burton, and I'm a school media coordinator here in Durham Public Schools, and I'm also on the executive board of the Durham Association of Educators. And at the board's last meeting, you asked DAE to gather input from the larger community about the superintendent search. And we prepared a thorough survey calling on all parents, educators, community partners, invested citizens, and students to share. And over the course of the past week, we have heard from over 400 Durham residents, and the list is still growing as we speak. One thing is clear from the survey is that Durham citizens are clearly passionate about our schools, and they want to contribute to the success of our students' education. So here are a few highlights from that survey. Across the board, stakeholders recognize the importance of community involvement in helping our kids to be successful through parent advocacy, partnerships with other local universities and businesses. Across the board, our community thinks our teachers are skilled and caring and are doing a great job for our kids, but are very worried about the high turnover of teaching and administrative staff. Across the board, our community finds its children's learning is disrupted by excessive testing. There were also a couple of important contradictions that emerged in the survey. While many named and celebrated diversity as a strength of our district, many also mentioned concerns about a reduction in diversity as a result of charter schools, particularly through white flight and resegregation. While many recognize district support for marginalized communities, there's also a clear recognition that we are not doing enough to disrupt systems of inequality. And again, this is only a small portion of the data that was collected. So in conclusion, we are confident that this body of data is valuable and should help guide the attentive and wide search for our district superintendent. We are confident that our new superintendent's leadership style and vision should match our cities and communities' specific trajectory, and we want to find a superintendent whose skill and vision can deliver a reality for the schools our students deserve. Our students deserve a well-informed, thorough search that reaches far and wide and is transparent. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Burton. Our next, so I have three names here in one little section here is. Okay. Okay, that's fine. We'll do 5 minutes. because it's 3 together. We save time anyway. Matthew Hickson, Megan Noor, and Tanya Valdez.
So I'm just going to introduce the two folks that are standing behind me, and then I'll get out of the way. I'll come back and finish up in a minute. My name is Matt Hickson. I'm a teacher at Neal Middle School. I'm also the co-founder and director of an organization called Bull City Schools United. Today we trained assistant principals across the district in thinking about the intersections of race, gender, and sexual orientation in terms of equity in our district, and that was great work. We've trained teachers across the district in many different schools. That is great work, but perhaps the best work that we do is work with the young people that are behind me. They are part of our Youth Advisory Council. They have stories to share. They meet with us once a month. We hear their stories and we share their visions in the work that we do. So I want to have them come up and share their thoughts on the superintendent search, and then I'll give some perspective from the adults that work with them.
Hi, so my name's Megan Noor. I'm a senior at Riverside High School. I'm one of the officers of our Queer Straight Alliance. I am queer myself, and so is the other person mostly involved. We had an incident earlier this year where we made a bunch of posters that we put up around the school, and they were repeatedly torn down by a faculty member. And while that was happening, I was scared, I felt targeted, I felt unsafe in school, and I want to ask that while you're searching for a superintendent, you specifically ask them if they support protections for LGBT students, pursuing equity for students like me, and essentially make sure that, to the best of your ability, nobody feels unsafe in school the way that I did, because that was unacceptable. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tanya Valdez. I am a junior at Jordan, and one of my biggest concerns is safety for minorities. There was an incident between this year and last year where a girl was sexually assaulted in our school and nothing was done. And all I want is for the future superintendent to actually care about us students, because we do fear that we will get sexual assault, hurt just because we are minorities and we happen to be different from the majority. And that's just one of my biggest concerns as a woman, as a person of LGBTQ, you know what I mean? And yeah, that's all I have to say.
So our organization has a couple of guiding principles when we think about the work we do with students, but also the work we do with teachers. The first is we believe in keeping the decision-making about equity work as close as possible to communities that are experiencing inequities. The second is that we constantly be thinking at the intersection, right? We're thinking about identities as multifaceted. We don't have single issue lives, and so we need to be thinking in that sort of way. And so we know a few things. We know, first of all, that students across our district and across the country feel targeted in many ways, feel silenced, and at the intersection of their identities experience discrimination and inequity. We know that 20%, actually slightly over 20% of our juvenile justice system population is made up of LGBT youth of color, one small intersection that represents about 3% of the overall population. We need to be thinking about these students and keeping them at the forefront, because we also know that when students feel safe and supported in their school, data consistently shows that they graduate at higher rates, that they enroll in college at higher rates, they have higher GPAs. And I think what we heard from our young people and what we hear from young people and teachers every day attest to that. So I would ask only that as you go about a superintendent search, that you really vet deeply through your questioning, through the background knowledge and research that you do of the candidates, and also just specifically through the statements that these people make publicly, that you demand that they be committed to equity for LGBT students, for students of color, that they are committed to closing the achievement gap and thinking about our school's most vulnerable populations. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and our last speaker that's signed up for right now is Savonia Lewis. Did I say it right that time? All right. All right.
Good to see you all again. I'm Giovanni Lewis, and I am here representing PAC, Parents of African American Children's Committee, a part of our PTA at George Watts. We have formed PACs in 2 other schools, or in formation of 3 other schools, in growing interests of parents of African American children and dealing with the achievement gap and bringing equity into our schools. I'm also here representing as a newly elected vice chair of the Durham Committee of Affairs of Black People. We appreciate the thoughtfulness and the search for a superintendent, and we have polled some parents, in which 88% of the parents that were polled are African American, on their thoughts of equity and diversity in DPS to have a voice at tonight's meeting. Based on the open-ended question regarding issues DPS superintendent faces when addressing racial equity, I will name off a few, which includes, and I'll give you a copy of this: culture of low expectations, unequal access to resources, able to provide culturally responsive teaching, implicit bias in the disciplining of brown and black children, access to rigorous course and instruction for African Americans, decreasing the gap of children that are in AIG, in honors classes and AP, educator bias, low teacher expectation for students, fairness in the classroom, unconscious bias from school personnel, and that's just to name a few from the open-ended questions. These concerns should be considered in an applicant that is committed to decreasing the achievement gap and has tools and resources on how to do this effectively, efficiently, and do it right. That will be long-lasting. In the choice of priority that they were given for what the superintendent should focus first, the #1 response was culturally responsive teaching, recruit and hire diverse staff, and discipline practices that address implicit bias, and universal pre-K. We hope that you would consider an internal and external search and utilizing a search engine as an expert in this search. That a search agency that makes equity a priority in their searches. We would definitely request inclusion in any community discussion and keep equity in ways of increasing racial equity at the forefront of every discussion to help us eliminate this achievement gap. And I piggyback the STIC representative who said we have to have the courage to allow the community to be involved in this process. If you would, allow us to also be involved in the process of, if you're going to form a committee, a group, an advisory, that there are parents who are willing to serve as well in your interview process once you decide the process that you all will take. There is no rush to get it right. Deliberation is admirable, and likely we will get someone who will be long-lasting and have an impact on this achievement gap. Thank you.
Thank you. So that was the last of the people who signed up. Was there anyone who didn't get to sign up, who wanted to speak on the superintendent search? Is there anyone in the hall that signed up? Hall is that way. All right. Oh, okay. Yep.
Hi, my name is William Jackson. I'm here representing Village of Wisdom. We work with Black families to push equity in schools. And I guess I'll just reiterate, I think, the passion and this necessity for a superintendent that is focused on equity and inclusion, and also kind of offer up our organization as a group who would be willing to kind of partner with the school board to do listening sessions. I know Bettina and Minnie and I forget your name, but Matt all talked about doing community sessions. So definitely, if we can be of assistance, let us know how. And I don't know, is this also the time where we're talking about budget, or are y'all redoing that conversation?
That's at 6:30.
Okay, cool.
We'll do that
That's
at 6:30. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. So that will conclude the public comment on the superintendent search. As we left it at the last meeting, where there were a couple things to kind of decide direction about what we're going to do. We initially talked about having Bettina, Matt, and Minnie talk about the possibility of community meetings, and if so, we would make suggestions of when and where they would be. Also, we were going to discuss the possibility of using a search firm. That was still kind of in the air there. I would suggest, I would like to start the discussion with the search firm part. I think it is, now's the time to make the decision that we're going to be using a search firm. And so I would like to suggest that to the board, that we accept the notion that we'll go with a search firm to bring a pool of candidates, which would include internal candidates and external candidates, regional, national, whatever it might be, so that we can, compare, candidates throughout, do interview processes, look at resumes, and so forth. Is that agreeable to everyone? I don't know that we need to vote on that. I think it's just consensus now. And with a consensus, I would like to discuss search firms or groups, get your thoughts on that. I think we can get that. I don't know that if we can, we may be able to make a decision on which one or two that we can accept proposals from or presentations from, and then kind of go from there. Yes, ma'am.
And I think it would be, if you've already received the proposals from them, then it would be good for us to look at them, and ones that we think are good, have them actually come and do eyeball to eyeball to decide if they're, because they come on their own dime. We don't have to. Right. We don't have to pay them anything. They'll come on their own dime, and they'll actually present to us, and we can make a decision, a comparison, because everybody's good on paper.
Right. Now, how long does that take? So that's what I want to know, like.
Well, as soon as you tell them that you want them to come, they'll come.
No, I mean, all right, so if we have, say we narrow down to two, how long can we expect a presentation to be?
Oh, you tell them we only want a 30-minute,
Okay.
20-minute presentation.
Okay, so can we add that to a work session?
I'd actually
What?
like to open the discussion a little bit more, Mike, if you don't mind. Here we are in a place that none of us wanted to be in.
Mm-hmm.
And we've already spent several weeks just getting started in this conversation. I actually looked at a lot of the search firms that have already reached out to us, and I've looked at Charlotte Mecklenburg's search and the different RFPs on their website, and there's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I think they're all selling the same product, and the product I'm most interested in is an efficient search that is that's not going to bog us down too long in choosing from firms. So I like the proximity of the North Carolina School Boards Association. I have complete respect for Allison Schaefer and her work. She's worked with this board a lot on student hearings. And I'd be ready if others were to proceed with using that firm. Their cost is about half of what other firms are. There are add-on costs to all of these contracts, including travel, advertising, it just runs on and on and on. But they don't strive to make a profit. They're just doing this as a service to members, and I think they will serve us admirably and save us money during a difficult budget time. So that's what I came prepared to hope that we could reach consensus around.
Well, as president-elect of the North Carolina School Board Association, I completely confirm your suggestion. And what I want people to understand is just because we say the North Carolina School Board Association, it's already out there that Durham is looking for a superintendent. So anybody that is interested nationally or internationally will send their information to the search firm. So it really doesn't matter which search firm you choose, because the candidates are going to send their information to the search firm that's chosen because they want to be selected. Y'all get that? So if we're talking about saving money in this budget crunch, it would be cost effective to use the North Carolina School Board Association. And they do traditional and non-traditional candidates. Just a plug for North Carolina.
So for those that know that work, Minnie, Natalie, in your research, can you convince me that, and it may not just be Minnie through what you've said, that candidates that know will contact our firm, but rather that they will reach out in ways that will get to LA Unified, Seattle, Texas, Florida. I don't have confidence that, aspiring superintendents or superintendents looking for a move, Durham's popping up on their Google search is running all the time.
Don't sleep on Durham. I've
No,
already
I'm
had
not.
calls coming from Wisconsin. I've had calls coming from Florida. So people know it's out there. People know that Durham is looking. AASA, the American Association of School Administrators, the Superintendent's Division, already has it. The National School Board Association, that carries all the school districts in the United States, already has it.
That's what I want to be convinced of, is that it will get out there, and it's not just we're in a receiving position, but we're in an advocacy position.
And your search firm will put things in the Chronicle of Higher Education. They will go to Ed Week. They will go to all of the magazines where educators or those who are looking for positions will look at. So it's not a small little community of people. Now, are you going to get people who are already set in their jobs? It depends on what kind of search you say you're going to do. When we ask, and I want our community to understand this, if you're looking for somebody who's already set in their position, they may not, if you're going to have an open search where their names are going to be publicized, they may not put their name in, because if you've decided it's going to be open, and that would jeopardize where they are already. So it depends on what kind of search we say we're going to have, whether or not candidates who are interested will come forward.
Okay. Did that answer your question?
I think the answer was yes, they will do that outreach for us. Thank you.
Right. Sir, you have any questions? Steve?
Thank you. I want to express my gratitude for those who came and spoke tonight. Thank you very much for that. From what I've been talking to a lot of people, trying to ask around to people who have done these searches in other areas, in particular looking for people that have experience trying to find a superintendent who's committed to the issues of equity, the issues of teacher retention, the issues of inclusion in everything we do. From what I can see, in these conversations, there is no search. It's not the search firm that's going to get us the candidate. The challenge is on us. All of us, as in the community and on the board, to be clear. what we're about as a school system. What are our strengths? What are the areas that we want to see a superintendent address? And to the extent that we can, as a board, present a unified vision of what that is, and then to the extent that that vision represents what the community is saying to us we need, that's what's going to determine who looks at this district and decides whether this is a place that they want to come. The reality is there's a finite number of dynamic, powerful leaders, and we need to be able to present ourselves as a district that is attractive to someone who wants to make a difference. I think we can do that. I think Durham's a place that people want to come and live. I think that we have a wealth of talented people already working for us. I think the challenge is on us in how we present this job and this district. So in terms of your concrete, that was a long way of getting to concretely. I don't have any trouble going with the School Board Association. I think they can do the mechanics. I think that the job is on us to work with them and present the case for who we're looking for.
Right now, correct me if I'm wrong, Manny. I believe whatever the search firm is that we choose, they will, with our instruction, they will set up the meetings. They will, we attend also. We're there also, but they're creating this profile of the district because that's going to be our direction. We want a profile of the district, from available information and from meetings and so forth that's publicized, and that's where they draw the candidates from everyone who's applying, everyone who's interested, or they know who to go out to and go look for and advertise for, and they bring back the candidates that meet our requirements there. So yeah, the idea of creating this profile of Durham, I think, is extremely important to what we're doing. Instead of creating a specific profile for a candidate, I think we create this profile for Durham and allow the search firm, the search firm is going to help us to create that profile and find the right people to fill. I do support the idea of using North Carolina School Boards Association, mainly because I know Allison, because she's worked with our district for a very long time, and we have the president-elect sitting at the table with us, so.
I assume we get a discount for that.
You'll get a discount.
Right. So I do support that, and I do, and Natalie, I do appreciate saying, we've wasted enough time. Not wasted, but Greg, I didn't say wasted, but we've taken enough time to kind of talk about this and make some decisions. I think, time's running short. Time is running really short, and if we were to go ahead and move with North Carolina School Boards Association, we can get rolling very quickly.
Natalie, you want to make that motion?
I haven't heard from everyone, so I never want to do that without hearing from everyone.
I would still ask for discussion, even after a motion, but Bettina?
I feel like this is a hard decision for me to make. I have the information that's on the school board's North Carolina School Board Association website, but not much more. I do think part of it is our job, like Steve said, to create this vision. But I'm wondering if we have all the language and the words to actually talk about what we need here in Durham, and if the School Boards Association will have the knowledge, the wherewithal to go seek the people that we need. Is just my question. We could have them come maybe to our next meeting, but I understand we want to move forward quickly. I think it's important to make sure they have what we need, and I'm not sure if we're clear exactly what we need.
Well, I want to say in answer to that, the number one school district in our state think it's, for academics, I think it's Chapel Hill. I want to think that they use the North Carolina School Board Association to bring their superintendent, who happens to be the past superintendent from Asheville. Guilford County used, and you can go on their website and see the number of searches that they've done. Guilford County used the North Carolina School Board Association. They brought the second Latina superintendent in the nation, Dr. Sharon Contreras, all the way from Syracuse, New York, from where she had been in Providence, Rhode Island. So I think they have a wide enough search reach that, and in Chapel Hill search, they came from everywhere. They came from everywhere. So I don't want us to, and what I've just passed to you is the profile that we had 3 years ago for the search that was done by Ray and Associates, that was developed by our community, and the things that we were looking for, what Durham Public Schools seeks a superintendent with. And so I want to know if these are some of the things that we've captured here this evening. Durham Public Schools seeks a superintendent who possesses excellent people skills, presents a positive image of the district, and will listen to input and make a decision when necessary. Possesses the leadership skills required to respond to the challenges presented by an ethnically and culturally diverse community. Inspires trust, self-confidence, and models high standards of integrity and personal performance with the ability to develop and communicate a vision of quality education for the future to the board, staff, and community. Is a strong communicator, speaking, listening, and writing. Has successful experience in sound management practices, including appropriate participation of others in planning and decision-making. Is able to delegate authority appropriately while maintaining accountability. Is strongly committed to a student-first philosophy in all decisions. Possesses the ability to enhance student performance, especially in identifying and closing or narrowing the gaps in student achievement. Demonstrates commitment to community visibility with high interest in a broad range of community groups and organizations. Is capable of developing both short and long-range district goals. Has knowledge of emerging research and best practices in the area of curriculum, instructional design, and practice. I think that's what we put out. The application had to be done by May 15th, 2014. We're almost at 3 years from that. That's what we put out for our superintendent. Those were the candidates we asked that this organization bring to us that had these qualities, and we as a board assessed whether or not they match this. When we put out what was about Durham, about our community, those are things, the characteristics that we have of Durham that we think make us so interesting, that make us this great city. So Bettina, I don't think it's really, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. I don't think it's really hard work. Our community has told us some things that perhaps we want to add, some things that we want to take away, but I don't think we have a really hard job to do to build a profile for who we want to come into Durham, whether it's a traditional or non-traditional candidate. The only thing this person has to do is meet the credentials of the superintendent. There are some credentials that every superintendent must have. And we can't go beyond that because the state of North Carolina would decide whether or not a superintendent can come into this place. Because when we say we want somebody non-traditional, well, they can be non-traditional, but they still have to meet the credentials that North Carolina has set up for superintendents. So other than that, we put the salary that we want to pay them. You see what we have down here, leading at $225,000. That's going to attract a lot of people. So I don't want us to get real caught up with worried about whether or not we're going to be able to put the qualities, or North Carolina is going to be able to, the search firm in North Carolina is going to be able to pull qualities. They're common.
I am interested in voting on this motion, this upcoming motion.
I do want to just react just quickly. Several people have talked about feeling like they're in a rush, and I just want to emphasize that I don't feel like I'm in a rush. What the community has been saying, at least in conversations I've been having, is they want us to take our time to do this right, to do this well. I think that the several weeks we've had have been already have been necessary for us to sort out what we needed to do. I think we can make this decision because I think it's straightforward and that we can move ahead. But I think it's important that we, both for ourselves internally and for the community, to know that we're not in a rush. We are going to take the time necessary to do this right.
No, I appreciate that, Steve, and I didn't mean to convey we were in a rush. I do think the reality of trying to schedule a lot of this work with upcoming summer break is going to present some extra challenges. But so I think the next time we're together, we need to actually physically bring calendars and make sure we have time blocked off that we're all in town, the 7 of us. But also, it occurs to me that community input can be ongoing with the search. I mean, there's no reason applications and qualifications can't be coming in while we're having community conversations. So there are some ways to continue to move the process along while we're hearing and engaging the community. So
Right, and I think community input is going to inform us on how to ask questions to the candidates. That's a continuous thing. I agree with that. All right. We have 7 minutes for.
We have a motion on the table.
So we need a motion. No, did she didn't make a motion?
She did not make a motion.
I would move that we contract with the North Carolina School Boards Association for a superintendent search, including internal and external candidates for Durham Public Schools.
I second that motion.
It's been moved and properly seconded that we contract with the North Carolina School Boards Association for internal and external candidate search. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please use the same sign. It passes unanimously. Very good. That would conclude the special meeting on the superintendent search. We have about 6 minutes left before we go into the budget meeting, so I will adjourn this special meeting, and at 6:30. Oh, we'll recess.
But I think you do actually, don't you, in terms of putting this on the
the
website, you
recess-
want this to be separate meetings? do
Yeah,
you
the
not?
recess is going to allow for that. Okay, so we
All
are,
right, so you can adjourn the superintendent
Right.
public hearing?
Yeah.
If it's advertised separate.
yeah. So we'll adjourn the superintendent's meeting, search, and then we'll come back for the special meeting on the budget hearing at 6:30. Thank you all.